Jake stood in the middle of the docking bay, his toolbox in one hand and a small scanner in the other. The zenith horizon floated quietly in orbit, its metal hull reflecting the light of the nearby star. He had been on the ship for only 2 weeks, but the scale of everything still amazed him. Hundreds of species worked together on the ship. Languages, customs, and food from across the galaxy mixed in one place. Jake was assigned to the Energy Systems Unit. His job was to help maintain the ship's power grid, especially in the Ilari sector. The Ilari were tall and elegant, with long ears and glowing green eyes. They looked like elves from old Earth stories, but their minds were sharp and technical. He met Liari on his second day. She was the lead technician for the Ilari Energy Division. She rarely smiled and spoke only when necessary. Jake thought she didn't like him. She always seemed focused, her green eyes watching every small detail during system checks. She moved with grace and precision, and her voice was calm but firm. One afternoon, Jake was told to deliver a diagnostic tool to the Ilari quarters. The system had been acting up, and Liari requested the tool herself. He made his way through the quiet halls of the Ilari wing. The walls were curved and smooth, glowing with soft blue light. Everything in the Ilari section felt peaceful. He reached the door to her room and pressed the chime. There was no answer. He waited for a few seconds, then tried again. Still no reply. Thinking she might be out, he used his access code to step inside and leave the tool on the table. As he stepped into the room, he froze. Liari stood by the far wall, her back to him, in the middle of changing from her work suit into a ceremonial robe. Her long hair shimmered in the light, and the green gems on her robe sparkled. She turned slowly to face him. Her expression was not shocked or angry. She looked at him, then gave a small nod. Jake backed out of the room quickly, apologizing over and over. His face was red, his heart racing. Couldn't believe what just happened. He expected security to call him any second. Nothing happened. There was no alert, no message, no report filed. He stayed in his quarters the rest of the evening, thinking he had just ruined everything. He expected Liari to be furious, or to request he be transferred. But the next morning, she appeared at the control station, like normal. She greeted him with a short nod and went back to work as if nothing happened. Jake tried to talk to her to apologize again, but she only said, "It is understood." Her voice was calm, almost gentle. That night, while eating with a group of engineers in the common hall, Jake shared the story. One of the older crew members from the trade section laughed so hard he nearly dropped his tray. "You walked in while she was changing?" the man said. "Do you know what that means in Ilari culture?" Jake looked confused. "I just thought I made a big mistake." The man shook his head. "In their culture, that's a courtship invitation. If she didn't react with anger or shame, it means she accepts." Jake nearly choked on his drink. "Wait, what? No way. It can't be real." But others at the table nodded. A woman from the science division said, "It's true. They see it as a moment of honesty. No masks, no barriers. If they let you see them in that state, it's not by chance." Jake sat in silence for a moment, stunned. He remembered the calm way she looked at him, the small nod, the lack of punishment. He stood up and left the hall, his mind spinning. What had he just walked into? Jake could not sleep that night. He lay in his small bunk, staring at the ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Liari's calm face and her quiet nod. It confused him.
Act so peaceful.
Was it really some kind of signal, like the crew said? The next morning, he walked into the control room carefully. Liari was already there, standing by the energy grid panel. Her hands moved across the glowing screen, adjusting power flow with ease. Jake cleared his throat and stepped closer. "About yesterday, ... I'm really sorry. I should have waited." Yari looked at him and tilted her head slightly. "There is no need to apologize again," she said. "It is understood." Jake nodded, feeling awkward. He watched her for a moment. She didn't look angry. In fact, she seemed more open today, more relaxed. She even asked him about his work on Earth and the kinds of machines he used there. Later, during their lunch break, Jake sat with Mia, a translator from the diplomatic team. He asked her quietly, "Is that story about Ilari customs true? The one about walking in on them?" Mia nodded. Yes. It's part of an old tradition. The Ilari believe trust is shown when someone sees you as you are, without shields or uniforms. If you don't reject the moment, you welcome a deeper connection. Jake shook his head slowly. But I didn't mean to. It was an accident. That doesn't matter to them, Mia said. What matters is how both people respond afterward. If she had been upset, that would be the end of it. But if she accepts it calmly, it means she sees you as someone important. Jake finished his meal in silence, his thoughts spinning. He remembered how Liari now asked more questions about him. She asked about his childhood, his family, even his favorite Earth songs. She had never asked anything personal before. A few days later, Jake and Liari were assigned to inspect a damaged energy node near the starboard engine. The hallway lights flickered and power levels were unstable. Damn. As they worked side by side, Jake noticed how comfortable their teamwork had become. Yari handed him a tool. You are improving, she said. Your work is more precise now. Jake smiled. Thanks. I had a good teacher. Liari looked at him for a long second, then said, I find humans curious. You speak freely, but you hide many things in your eyes. Jake paused. That sounds like a compliment and a warning. It is both, she replied. They fixed the energy lines and ran a system check. Everything worked well. As they packed up, Jake found the courage to ask, Why did you not report me when I walked in that day? Liari turned to him slowly. Because I did not wish to. The moment was not harmful. It was a connection, but I didn't mean anything by it, he said. Intent is not always needed. Meaning grows from how we act after the moment, she said. Jake nodded. He didn't know what to say. Liari looked at him with calm eyes, then walked ahead without another word. That evening, Jake sat alone at a table in the observation deck. He watched stars drift past the wide glass windows. The galaxy felt endless, full of unknown paths. He had never thought much about love or connection out here. But now things were changing. He remembered Liari's words. A connection, could that be true? Could two people from different worlds find something real? As he thought, Liari entered the room and sat beside him. She did not speak. She simply sat, her presence quiet but warm. Jake glanced at her. Are you always this calm? No, she said. Only when I feel at peace. They both looked out at the stars, the silence between them full of meaning. No more words were needed. The ship shook gently as the alert lights turned yellow. A small message blinked across the screens in the control room. A mining station near the edge of the neutral zone had sent a distress call. Their reactor was failing, and the nearby systems could be affected if it exploded. Jake stood near the panel, reading the report. He saw Liari walking toward the captain's station. Her steps were calm, but her eyes showed concern. The captain looked at both of them. You two will go, the captain said. You worked well together during the last repairs. Station needs fast help. Jake nodded. Liari did the same. A few hours later, they were flying in a small shuttle through a dark part of space. The mining station appeared ahead, its lights dim and flickering. The surface looked cracked, and small energy sparks danced around the outer walls. As they docked, Jake could feel the tension in the air. The workers on the station looked tired and worried. One of them, a short man with a scar over his eye, led them to the power core. The reactor is unstable, he said. We had a surge 2 days ago. Since then, nothing is working right. Jake and Liari checked the systems. The readings were worse than expected. The core was close to overheating, and the backup coolers were offline. We need to repair the control valves and restart the cooling unit, Liari said. If not, this station will not last another day. They worked quickly, pulling open panels and testing wires. Jake crawled into a tight space to reset a circuit. Liari guided him from outside, her voice steady. After 2 hours, Jake wiped sweat from his forehead. I think the coolant lines are working again. Good, Liari replied. Now we must test the pressure system. Just as they were starting the test, the lights flickered again. A loud crack shook the floor. Jake stumbled, and the screen near Liari went black. Emergency doors are closing, she said. We are locked in. Jake looked around. They were stuck inside the reactor room. The door behind them was sealed tight. The radio link was down. We have to fix it from here, Jake said. We can't wait. They went back to work. The air felt warmer now. Time was running short. Jake checked the wires while Liari adjusted the energy control unit. Their hands moved fast, but their focus was clear. As they worked, Jake looked at Liari. Even in this dangerous moment, she looked calm and controlled. He saw the light from the control panel reflect in her green eyes. "Are you ever afraid?" he asked. She paused, then said yes, but fear does not stop me. Jake smiled a little. "I wish I was more like you." Liari looked at him. "You are brave in your own way.
Oh.
You do not hide behind silence. That is its own strength." Jake felt something shift between them. It was not just about work anymore. It was about trust. Real trust. They completed the repairs and restarted the cooling unit. The heat slowly dropped, and the reactor readings began to return to normal. A few minutes later, the door opened with a loud click. A group of station workers stood outside, clapping and cheering. The danger had passed. Jake and Liari walked back to the shuttle in silence. Once inside, Jake sat down and took a deep breath. "We did it," he said. "Just the two of us." Liari nodded. "You showed courage today. That will be remembered." Jake turned to her. "Back on the ship, when that accident happened, I was confused. I didn't understand. But I think I do now." Liari waited. Jake said, "It wasn't just a mistake. It started something. And I think I want to see where it goes." Liari gave a small smile, and then let us see. Together. The shuttle flew back through space, leaving the damaged station behind. In the quiet of the stars, something new had started between two very different people. The zenith horizon was quiet again, floating near a peaceful star. After the mission to the mining station, Jake and Liari became well known among the crew. Their teamwork and success were praised by many. People from different species came to them for advice. Some just wanted to hear the story of how they saved the station. But tension had started to grow again. A new conflict was rising between two alliance members. One group believed the council was favoring humans. The other side wanted to reduce human roles in leadership. There were meetings, arguments, and angry messages. The captain called for a special gathering in the main hall. Each species sent a speaker. Jake and Liari were asked to speak as a team. The captain believed their story could calm the growing anger. Jake stood at the front of the room, looked at the different faces staring back. Some looked curious, others looked tired or upset. He took a breath and began. "I grew up on a small farm on Earth," he said. "I never thought I would work in space, but I came here because I believed in something bigger. A future where different species could work together." He looked at Liari. She stepped forward. "I am Alari," she said. "We are not always quick to trust, but trust can grow, even from mistakes. I learned that from Jake." People began to listen more closely. Jake spoke again. "We went to that mining station as strangers. We came back as partners, not because we planned it, but because we learned to listen and work together," Liari said. "This ship shows what is possible, but only if we stop seeing each other as separate. We are part of the same mission, the same stars." When they finished, the room was quiet. Then slowly a few people began to clap. More joined in. The sound grew louder. It was not wild cheering, but it was enough. After the meeting, many people thanked them. The mood around the ship slowly began to change. The angry voices became quieter, or people started talking about solutions instead of problems. That evening, Jake stood outside Liari's quarters. He held a small wooden box. Inside was a hand-carved figure of two hands holding a star. It was an earth symbol of unity. He pressed the door chime. Liari opened the door and looked at him. "Can we talk?" Jake asked. She nodded and stepped aside. The room was quiet, lit by soft green lights. A small fountain bubbled in the corner. Jake handed her the box. She opened it and looked at the figure. Her eyes stayed on it for a moment. "It is simple," she said. "Yes," Jake said, "but it means something. On Earth, it shows connection." She placed the box on a shelf. Jake sat down. "I did not know what I was doing that day I walked into your room, but now I know. I know what it meant to you, and I know what it means to me." Liari turned to face him. Her face was calm, but her eyes were bright. "And speak," she said. Jake looked into her eyes. "I want to be with you. I want to understand your world. and I want to share mine with you. If that walk-in was a beginning, then this is my answer. Liari stepped closer. You have taken the first step. That is enough for now. Jake smiled. So, is that a yes? She did not answer with words. She placed her hand gently on his. It was her way of saying yes. They sat in silence, just as they did once before. But this time, the silence was full of hope. Outside, the stars moved slowly across the sky. The ship was still. But inside, something important had changed. Jake left her room with a quiet heart. He knew things would not be simple. There would be questions. Some would not understand, but he did. He understood her, and she understood him. And that was the beginning of something real. The zenith horizon moved through a calm part of space. The crew had returned to their duties. The ship felt peaceful again. Talks between the different alliance members were going better now. There was still some disagreement, but the loud voices were fewer. Jake sat in the main workshop, checking the readings on a new energy core. He felt more confident now. People came to him for help. They listened to his ideas. He had found his place on the ship. Liari entered the room and walked over to him. She held a data pad in one hand. We received an invitation, she said. From who? Jack asked. The Council of Joint Colonies. They want us to help design a new settlement. One where humans and Alari will live together. Jake looked at her with surprise. USLA nodded. They believe our work has shown what unity looks like. Jake smiled. That sounds big. It is, she said. But I think we are ready. They began to plan together. Meetings were held. Designs were shared. People from both species added their ideas. The new colony would be built on a planet with clean air, wide rivers, and blue mountains. It would have both Alari towers and human-style homes. As the weeks passed, Jake and Liari spent more time together. They worked during the day and walked through the observation deck at night. They talked about small things and big dreams. One evening, as they stood near the window, Jake looked at the stars. It still feels strange, he said. All of this started with a simple mistake. Liari gave a small smile. It was not a mistake. It was a path. Jake turned to her. A strange one. Yes, she said. But some paths are not straight. They turn and twist. But they still lead somewhere good. Soon the zenith horizon changed its course toward the planet chosen for the new colony. Everyone on the ship was excited. Some crew members would leave the ship and join the colony team. Now Jake and Liari were among them. As the ship prepared for landing, a small ceremony was held. The captain stood at the front of the hall. Today we mark the start of something new, he said. This is not just a colony, it is a message. The two worlds can come together, not just in words, but in life. Jake and Liari stood side by side. People clapped and wished them well. Some gave small gifts, others shared kind words. When they landed, the ground felt fresh under their feet, and the sun was warm. The air smelled like wildflowers. Jake looked around and saw the workers unloading supplies. Towers would rise here. Homes would be built. Children would play in these fields one day. He turned to Liari. You think this will work? She looked around. If we build with care, yes. Together they began the first steps. They worked with teams from both species. There were problems, but they solved them one by one. There were hard days and good days. But through it all, they stayed together. Months passed. The colony grew. Small farms were planted. Lights shone in the windows at night. People laughed, worked, and learned from each other. One night, Jake sat with Liari on a hill near the river and watched the stars rise. Do you miss the ship? He asked. Sometimes, she said, but I like this. It is quiet and real. Jake nodded. I never thought my life would go this way. Liari looked at him. You walked into my room without knowing what it meant. Now we walk into the future. Together, Jake took her hand. They sat in silence. The stars above them moved slowly. River below whispered to the stones. Their story had begun with a mistake, but now it was something stronger. A connection that grew with trust and time. And somewhere far away, on another ship, new stories were starting. But this one, the story of Jake and Liari, was now part of the stars.